Your official Royal Rumble preview and prediction show with co-host Ashley Mann is just moments away, and we have some crazy predictions for you guys. We have things that you may or may not be thinking of for what we believe is going to be one crazy show for tomorrow night as we record this on Saturday evening. So we're pumped for it. We hope you guys are. So this is a great conversation as always. So stay right there. We're going to get a word from the sponsor, and then we're going to get right into the show. Hey guys, so retirement may or may not be something that you're really thinking about, but even if you are years and years away, I mean, I'm 20 years away from retirement, but it's something that we should all be thinking about. There's a company that has retirement plans that you can invest in precious metals like gold, silver, and cryptocurrency. There's also a big opportunity to grow retirement and grow income for either your personal or a business. And anyone who signs up at this website receives a free investment kit and gift. So what is this website? It's brightmoneyinvestments.com. That's brightmoneyinvestments.com. You can diversify and grow with metals and cryptos, and you can even talk to someone there to get a better idea of what you should be investing in. So head on over to brightmoneyinvestments.com.
Welcome to the WWE Podcast, the most passionate and authentic wrestling analysis on the web. We've got you covered with every Raw, SmackDown, and NXT show, giving you a no bullshit opinion. We know you love wrestling. We do too. So let's get this show underway.
And that's the bottom line. What? 'Cause Stone Cold said so.
Hey guys, welcome to the WWE Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. It is Royal Rumble. It's the preview show. It's predictions. It's theories. It's conspiracies. And everything in between. Thank you guys for joining me. Ashley Mann joins me today as we discuss in detail the Royal Rumble match itself for the men's and women's. We go through, of course, all of the other matches between Corbin and Roman Reigns and Shorty G, a.k.a. Chad Gable and Sheamus, and Lacey Evans and Bayley, and The Fiend and Daniel Bryan. We give all of our thoughts, and to be honest, this was not an easy card to pick. This was very difficult from so many different levels because the Royal Rumble match itself throws a wrench into the whole thing, because the Royal Rumble match itself ties into what could happen in other matches and who could come out and eliminate who, and possible returns and heels and baby faces making turns. So many things that we discussed. A great conversation with Ashley, and my head is spinning. She actually made me change my pick for the men's Royal Rumble at the very end. And I had somebody that I had for sure locked in, and she sold me on somebody else that makes a whole lot of sense. So check that out. You guys are going to want to stay to the end of the show for that one, as we make our men's Royal Rumble picks towards the end of the show. But she certainly sold me. I was buying what she was selling at that point. So you're going to want to definitely wait until the end of the show for that one. But guys, welcome. This is the official kickoff WrestleMania to the Road to WrestleMania WWE podcast episode, because the Royal Rumble is tomorrow night, or tonight, as you are probably listening to this. It's dropping late Saturday night. So I'm excited. This is an exciting time to be a wrestling fan. No doubt about it. This is a show that is a exciting show for anybody that is a sports enthusiast. I mean, even if you don't know what wrestling is or don't care about wrestling, this is a format for the Rumble match anyway. The Rumble match is a brilliant idea. It's easy to follow. It's exciting. You never know who's coming out. It's easy to understand. So again, this is exciting. If you have friends that are that really make fun of you for watching wrestling, but then they're suddenly interested when WrestleMania season comes around, this is when they start to poke their head in and go, oh, Rumble, cool. It's socially acceptable to be a wrestling fan again. Let's watch the Rumble. So, again, that's where these fans start to come out of the woodwork. We all know who they are. But this is an awesome time to be a fan. So, again, guys, this is the WWE Podcast. By the way, I hope you enjoyed the new little jingle intro. That's something that I had done, and I thought it was time, after a couple of years of the same damn intro, to put a fresh coat of paint on things and have it just feel different a little bit and just spice this show up as we roll into the WrestleMania season. So I'm excited, by the way, guys, for WrestleMania this year. There's just so many different things happening, paths you can take. And Ashley actually did a flow chart for her picks, for one of her picks. So that was pretty cool that she really went into that length to make a flow chart to make her pick. So cool deal there. And you'll hear her pick, of course, in just a few minutes, or all her picks in just a few minutes. But if you haven't joined us, guys, welcome. This is the WWE podcast, the official, unofficial WWE podcast. And we are dropping shows every single day for your listening pleasure. We have 6 right now. We'll be dropping a 7th one, and I'll be announcing that new show shortly. And we review every show that WWE has in terms of NXT, AEW. Well, obviously WWE doesn't have AEW, but we cover AEW as well. Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-views. And a massive, massive Royal Rumble review show is coming your way Tuesday with all co-hosts on board. We'll be reviewing the Royal Rumble and, of course, the fallout from Monday Night Raw. So Tuesday's the day. Mark your calendars for a mega co-host show, a mega review show on Tuesday. Really looking forward to that. It's going to be an absolute blast. So, anyway, guys, if you want an ad-free experience, head on over to patreon.com/WWE podcast. You can get all your ad-free listening experience right here. Go to patreon.com/WWE podcast if you are interested in that. But one thing I just want to quickly expand upon it, when I tweeted this out about the whole women's name being dropped from the NXT Women's Championship. Now, this is something that came about in the news feed just a few days ago. And then Becky Lynch subsequently started talking about her own comments about removing the word women from the conversation. She wasn't talking about renaming a division. It was about rethinking it. Now, WWE, if true, that they are removing the women's label from the NXT Women's Championship, why? Why are we doing this? This does make sense, right? Oh, well, you don't put the men's name on the championship. Well, if we don't put the women's name on it, what are you going to call it? Just the NXT Championship? You have to delineate. And if you're going to do it by gender, so what? So what? But people get easily offended that, you're categorizing people. You're labeling people. Yeah, I think I can do that when they're a woman or a man. There's nothing shameful about being either. And I'm not going to get into, there's more than 2 genders. I just, God almighty, I'm not even going to get into that or I will lose it. But the fact of the matter is, you're labeling somebody as what gender they are. So what? And I'm thinking this is coming from pressure from LGBTQ rights activists and people that are ultra sensitive and, you're labeling as a woman. So what? That's a scientific fact. That's not a subjective observation. It's objective, meaning it is or it isn't. It's a fact that if you are a woman carrying the women's championship, you're a woman, right? So I just don't see any problem with that. And then Becky Lynch comes on and she talks about, and this is verbatim, my comment about removing the word women from the conversation wasn't about renaming a division. It was about beginning to rethink it. I wasn't advocating for any changes in title names or anything else, but simply an equal volume of opportunities that are based on skill and not gender. So I'll stop there. Yes, I agree. I have nothing else to say about that. I agree. It's either equal opportunity or equal outcome. You can't have both. And I like that if you're going to give them equal opportunities, then skill will always allow the cream of the crop to rise. And if it's not, if it's going to be equal outcomes, then you can't have equal opportunity. Because equal opportunity never equals equal outcomes, right? Never. She also goes on to say the term women can limit openings because phrases like there's already a women's match on the show is still in wrestling's historical DNA. To some degree, I think that's true, right? We always remember, there's a obligatory women's match on the show. We don't need more. I agree. There can be some improvement there, but look at the strides that they've made, right? We're all just superstars who want our shots and places on the shows if we earn and deserve them. I'd simply love us to get to a place where there's 3 women's matches on a pay-per-view, or 10, or none if it so happens we're not serving the audience. Agreed. So Becky's saying a lot of things that make sense here. It's all about earning it. And if you want equal opportunities, fine. I'm on board for WWE being the catalyst for that. They're the ones that can control equal opportunities, but you also have to hone your craft and dedicate yourself to being given that opportunity, right? Opportunities shouldn't just be handed out. You should have to earn those opportunities. So, okay, well, that's enough of that. Guys, let's take a quick break, and then we're going to get right to the conversation with Ashley, and it's a blast. So trust me, you're going to love this one. And then it'll be on to the Royal Rumble review show. And by the way, I will be tweeting throughout the Royal Rumble match, Royal Rumble pay-per-view tomorrow, which you can find me on the WWE podcast. So check my instant knee-jerk reactions to what's going on the pay-per-view. And then we'll have a massive review show on Tuesday with Raw and Royal Rumble combined with all co-hosts on board. So it's going to be a hell of a few days here. And I hope you guys enjoy. And stay right here.
You're listening to the WWE Podcast. We'll be right back after this short break.
Hey guys, so retirement may or may not be something that you're really thinking about, but even if you are years and years away, I mean, I'm 20 years away from retirement, but it's something that we should all be thinking about. There's a company that has retirement plans that you can invest in precious metals like gold, silver, and cryptocurrency. There's also a big opportunity to grow retirement and grow income for either your personal or a business. And anyone who signs up at this website receives a free investment kit and gift. So what is this website? It's brightmoneyinvestments.com. That's brightmoneyinvestments.com. You can diversify and grow with metals and cryptos, and you can even talk to someone there to get a better idea of what you should be investing in. So head on over to brightmoneyinvestments.com.
Welcome back to the WWE Podcast. Let's get back to more great wrestling audio.
All right, guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for sticking with us, and let's get into the conversation with Ashley, because, again, this is a great conversation. We discussed the Rumble in depth, in length, and grind it down into a fine powder. So, guys, without further ado, let's get into Ashley and myself. We'll be back Tuesday, back Wednesday, back Thursday, back Friday, back Saturday. You name it, we're back every day of the week. So, here we go. Enjoy the show, and I'll talk to you soon. This is a show that I've been waiting for the last 6 weeks. 6 weeks ago, we were talking about how, oh my God, we have 6 weeks until the next pay-per-view, when typically it's 3 weeks or less in some instances. So, as fate may have it, and the wrestling gods have decided that it's just meant to be, my co-host Ashley is with me for our prediction show, as she is for every single prediction show, not by design, and really looking forward to this one. This has been a long time coming for the Royal Rumble, so I'm pumped to have you here, and Ashley, welcome back.
Thank you, Matt. I am so pumped to be doing this prediction show with you. Yeah, like we have referenced before, it seems like whatever wrestling gods are out there want us to do these prediction shows, so I'm here for it. And like we were briefly talking about before we started recording, the Royal Rumble is probably one of the most exciting pay-per-views of the year, so I'm just super stoked to actually finally be here and kick off WrestleMania season and just get going.
Yes, and this is, like you've mentioned, it is a wrestling event that even non-wrestling fans can understand and enjoy. That's a great point to bring up, that, you know, like I just told you, my wife, who has no clue about really what the hell is going on in wrestling, no idea. She knows who Brock Lesnar is. She knows the major names, but outside of that, doesn't know a thing. I talked to her about it. I said, hey, the Royal Rumble's tomorrow night. She said, oh, is that the one where everyone comes out? And I explained briefly. She said, oh, I like that. And so she may actually watch some of the Rumble match itself. And yes, WrestleMania season is officially here. It's crazy. It feels like we were just talking about Ronda and Charlotte and Becky main eventing WrestleMania 35. Now here we are. 36 is just a few short months away. So I'm ready to get this thing underway. And we have got crazy matches that seem so obvious to the eye, but as you told me off air, you made a flowchart. So tell us about that. How did you come up with this flowchart? Don't tell us your prediction, but how you came up with a flowchart for one of these matches.
I did. Okay. So I am a very visual person, and when I get super like invested in something or whatever, I just sometimes like my brain doesn't know how to sort things out, so I have to write it down. So, and that's what Lesnar and the men's Royal Rumble match did to me. So that's what inspired my little flow chart. So I made two scenarios. One, if Lesnar wins, what I think would happen in that situation, and one, if he doesn't win, who I think would obviously end up winning the entire thing and what would go on from there. So yeah, once we get to that one, I have a few different scenarios to say the least.
That's awesome. Well, you certainly put more work into the actual predictions, I think, than I did. Who maybe I'm just getting arrogant in my predictions, but I shouldn't. I should probably do what you're doing. So I'm very interested to hear your two scenarios. And for those of you, by the way, who are looking forward to our review show, the Royal Rumble review show, I should say, that is actually going to be taking place Tuesday evening, and I will be having all three co-hosts on at once. It's going to be a massive review show. So while you on the preview show, you also will get to hear your in-person kind of review and thoughts on the Royal Rumble match. So that I am really, really interested to hear, and I've never had a all co-hosts on board show. So I'm looking forward to having you back really in just, 4 days?
Yeah, it's amazing to think how different the wrestling world will be in just a couple days.
I know. Everything. Everything. Right. We have no idea what's going to happen right now, but tomorrow night, after everything is over, the dust settles, whoever stands on the second rope and points at the WrestleMania sign, the fireworks go off, as it's just WWE law to do. We will have our WrestleMania card, at least in part, filled. Things can change. We have 2 pay-per-views in between the Rumble and WrestleMania, unbelievably. And yes, things can change, but your main event is going to be set by the men and the women. So I'm ready to get this thing underway. And let's just get started. Are you ready for this?
Oh yeah, I'm ready. Let's go.
Oh man. All right. Well, now, of course, this takes into consideration SmackDown. This isn't a SmackDown review show, but certainly this is going to take into consideration all the events that did transpire last night on SmackDown. So let's start. We're gonna start towards the bottom here and then build up to the Rumble match. Sheamus and Shorty G. Now, I'm gonna take a step back here and give this to you because I have things written down here that I am trying to convince myself one way or the other on this. Who do you have winning this and why?
I think it's sadly obvious that Sheamus is going to win. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn and it shouldn't be obvious. Maybe Shorty G gets the upset here, and that's the story and that's how they progress this going forward. But I think it's probably going to be maybe a 5-minute match tops. Sheamus is going to come out and pretty much destroy Shorty G. He may get in a little offense here or there, but I think this is going to be to spotlight Sheamus in his return. I think they've put too much into this, and too much hype and too many video packages and things like that for Sheamus to just lose right out the gate, especially to Shorty G. As much as it pains me to say that about him.
Yeah, and it still hurts me to say Shorty G, so I'm going to say Chad Gable. So kind of with you there. I don't think. I mean, my 2 scenarios I have written down, I have like an 80% confidence on Sheamus winning this one. It's pretty high, given that we've seen Shorty G be defined as the guy that's the underdog always. They've incessantly picked on his height, which is just so sophomoric and lazy, to be honest with you. And we've run through that before. So Shorty G, the way he's been defined, and you have Sheamus, as you said, how many video packages and mysterious backstage red light promos that he did, and he comes back with a vengeance, and I think he's in the best shape of his career. The way he looks is awesome. I got to give him credit for really just transforming himself while he was away. I think this is Sheamus's moment here. This is, I think, unfortunately for Chad Gable, he's being used as a stepping stone for Sheamus here. I just don't see any other way where Chad Gable comes up on top. I just don't. Sheamus seems to be the focus. Vince has always taken a liking to Sheamus and put him in main event spots in the past and even made him champion at times. So Sheamus is, to me, the odds-on favorite, heavy favorite. I don't see Chad Gable winning this, although, like you said, this could be a very entertaining match. and you'll certainly see hope spots, and you'll hear the announcers say, "Can Chad Gable do it?" Right? And you'll hear those things. Ultimately, a bro kick is going to leave Chad Gable on his back looking up at the lights.
Yeah, again, which is so sad to say because Chad Gable is such a pure athlete and so great and has so much potential and just could be that pure babyface. But at least for right now, I don't see the momentum behind him in their eyes. I think it's all Sheamus.
Yeah, I don't either. And I've sung Chad Gable's praises as long as I can remember. He's not an exciting guy during his entrance, but he is a guy that brings you in his matches much like Buddy Murphy has, and obviously Buddy Murphy's in a much different position now, but prior to him joining Seth's group, he was a guy that you didn't get excited about coming out. There wasn't a whole lot of fanfare, but he was a person and a performer that could bring you in his matches and tell a story and emotionally pull at your heartstrings and get you to get invested without even an explosive entrance and all the flash that comes with it. So that's a testament to both Chad Gable and obviously Buddy Murphy, although again, he's at a different point. So yeah, I just don't see a way in which Chad Gable comes out on top. I could even honestly see this on the preview show. But hey, I don't know. Yeah. This one probably is going to be, I don't know, about halfway through, as unfortunately positioned as kind of a rest stop that Vince McMahon would label it as. So I don't know. Yeah. It's unfortunate because again, this guy has all the talent in the world, but he has come up now. Vince, and I don't know which show I heard this on. I would give the podcast credit, but somebody had mentioned that when WWE sees a guy getting over when he's not really supposed to, but he's getting over because of his talent in the ring and how good he is and his ability to bring the audience in, WWE goes, "Oh, wait a minute, we got to fix this. This isn't right. Like, something's wrong here."
Right.
And it's not broken.
Which is bizarre.
It's not broken. This is something that is rare. You don't see this in every guy. You can give anybody a special entrance. You can't give the talent to anybody to be able to bring the crowd into your match and make them believe every time you're in that ring. So when WWE sees that, they're like, "Oh, we got to fix this." I don't know. It's crazy.
It is, dude. It really is.
So, okay, let's move up the card here. United States Championship, Andrade versus Humberto Carrillo, who made his re-debut this week and didn't bother to help Rey Mysterio, keep the championship, but saved him from ultimate disaster while Andrade was going to give the hammerlock DDT on the outside, although makes sense because Rey saved him a number of weeks ago to come to his aid. So, Andrade, Humberto Carrillo, I'll give my pick here first on this. Andrade, I think, retains. I think that they have done a great job building up heat for him and Zelina. I'm glad that they did not decide to split these two because I think that Zelina adds so much to Andrade's character. They gel so well together. I'm glad they didn't go that road. I think that this is just another building block for Andrade to make it to Mania, probably getting in, it's either the IC or the United States Championship that's always put in a ladder match of sorts. So I could see this going out to Mania in a 6-man ladder match with Humberto Carrillo and Rey Mysterio and, whoever else is available at that time.
Probably Aleister Black, throw him in there.
Absolutely. I mean, you got 4 right there. So that's probably what's going to happen, but this is going to be a hell of a match. I'm looking forward to this for the perspective of not just spot, although that's kind of what this may translate into to some people, but Humberto is a guy this is the biggest match he's ever had in his career. And I think he has something to prove. Andrade's young and hungry. I think these guys are going to tear it up, and I think they're going to be left bruised and battered after this one, ultimately Andrade retaining, probably due to Zelina Vega.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you there more. The whole placement and order of these matches is kind of interesting to me, and I guess it's refreshing in a sense too. That it shows that they probably have a lot of hope for Humberto going forward. But you would think that, especially a ladder match, Rey Mysterio versus Andrade in a ladder match for the title, you would have thought that they would have saved that for Royal Rumble. But instead, they had that on Monday Night Raw and are now having Andrade versus Carrillo at the Rumble. So you just would have thought, if you just wrote them down both on paper, obviously the Rey and Andrade match would have meant more maybe on the Royal Rumble match itself. But maybe they did that just for ratings. But yeah, it is interesting. Like if you go back and think about it, like Carrillo was sitting there the entire time when Zelina was screwing Ray over during the match. So you would have thought he would maybe interfered earlier to help Ray, like you mentioned. But I am such a big fan of Andrade and Zelina Vega. I think she adds so much to Andrade, and they're just the perfect pair. And I like that WWE hasn't forced them to be a romantic couple. They are just manager and working. It's a pure working relationship, and I'm just so here for it. And I see a big future for Andrade going forward.
No question about that either. And as far as the romantic piece goes, yeah, I think Charlotte would have something to say about that as well. That would be a really awkward situation if on screen.
I guess it kind of shows to the maturity in a way, which I can't believe I'm saying from WWE, because if you think if this was just a few years ago, for sure they probably would have twisted this and made Zelina, and it may be a different type of relationship, but I'm just happy that it's strictly business, and she's actually doing stuff that benefits him. Like she saved his title for sure last Monday, so little things like that really make a big difference for a couple and a character like that.
Definitely, and that is something that, like you said, it shows a maturity and a resistance to the obvious storyline that people are probably thinking of. Oh, they're probably actually romantically involved. They're going to do something wacky, and they're
especially
not.
Especially when they teased tension a few weeks ago.
Yes.
Maybe
and I'm so glad they backed off of that.
Yeah.
I was very worried. I remember when Zelina was out for a while and Andrade was coming out, and I was like, something, it just doesn't feel right. He needs Zelina, and he may not need her forever. Obviously, Andrade is going to be continuing his ascension in the ranks, and he'll get his notoriety, he'll get his presence, and he'll feel himself out as a character and grow, and eventually he'll grow out of needing Zelina, eventually, I think, and that's fine. But right now, they are great together. They are, Zelina's athleticism, she can throw in a Hurricane Rana every now and then. I love that, and the professional.
But she does so well.
She does.
So crisp.
She's awesome, and I love her promos too. Zelina's promos are believable. They're nasty, and that's a good thing. How much she supports Andrade, and actually, if you watch her at ringside during his matches, every move that happens, everything that happens in the ring, she reacts to as if it's life and death. And I like that she actually, as she's invested the entire match. I like that. And the professional relationship, I think, is where it all starts. I even remember when Lana and Rusev, before this whole nonsense happened, and they were just at the very beginning, when she came out in the business suit, and he was the Bulgarian Brood and all this stuff, and she was all business. I like that couple. I like that pairing, because you didn't think they were romantically involved at the time, and they kept it business, and that's when I liked it the most.
Yeah.
And obviously we know where we went with the love triangle with Ziggler, and then into this Bobby Lashley stuff. So anyway, my point is, back to the prediction, Andrade retains. Humberto's going to get the rub, the good old rub, and I think that he'll make more of a name for himself. He'll establish himself in front of the fans, start to gain that respect and build a foundation for that respect, and that's fine. That's where Humberto needs to go. Plus, Andrade really just captured the United States Championship just a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, from Rey Mysterio, so it's fine. And I think Andrade's the right choice here.
Yep. Me too.
All right. Moving on here. Roman Reigns, King Corbin, Falls Count Anywhere match. Out of all stipulations that Roman Reigns could have chosen, because cage matches exist, but not in Roman Reigns' world, because a Falls Count Anywhere match that, is the most boring stipulation that you could have possibly chosen. Out of all stipulations in the world, Roman Reigns chooses this stipulation, but whatever. I mean, I don't have anything to say about this other than I'm expecting a very good match. I'm having trouble with my prediction on this one. I could honestly see it going both ways. To most people, it's a fait accompli that Roman Reigns is going to win. I mean, and I see that argument because King Corbin has been getting a lot of heat lately with the dog food and the reminders of what he did and the assaults from his Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode and all of his minions that carry him out to the ring, the constant attacks, all of that. And Corbin, for the most part, has gotten the one-up on him, so it makes wrestling sense, wrestling logic to tell you that Roman Reigns would win. I I have trouble with this one because it's so easy. I'm gonna go with King Corbin getting the victory, and I'm not confident about that. I'm only doing that because I have thoughts about what's coming later in the night, and I just feel that King Corbin winning here could really elevate him even further, and God knows that SmackDown needs a hot heel, and Corbin is in that top 2 heels. So I'm fine with Corbin winning. Roman Reigns is Teflon. He has the Royal Rumble match to compete in, and I think Corbin wins this because Corbin needs this more. I know he's going to cheat to win, and he'll probably have help from Ziggler or Rude or whoever, and you have the Usos involved to even the odds. Ultimately, you're going to have probably too many numbers outnumbering the bloodline, and I think Corbin wins this one.
Yeah, this kind of is the beginning of where all my predictions got really tricky because I think all of these matches kind of play into the Rumble, which plays into even the Elimination Chamber, which plays into, of course, WrestleMania. So again, this is probably the first one that was starting to get a little more difficult for me because, the obvious answer is Roman. But like everything you just said about Corbin, right now, he wouldn't be able to get a more substantial victory than against Roman Reigns in a match that Roman himself chose. He could just brag on that for weeks to come. So that is an interesting twist for me, but I kind of feel like, man, I don't know. This one, it's hard.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah. Because the Rumble match really throws a wrench in the whole thing.
I know. So here's the thing, because if Roman were to win the Rumble, I could see him taking the loss here and going on and winning the Rumble, and pretty much no one worrying about it except for when Corbin brags about it. I think officially I'm gonna go Corbin here as well. I think it's too easy right now, and I could see them pushing this out further, because really, what else would Corbin do right now? He can't really go after the title picture. I don't really see him feuding with Shinsuke Nakamura, so he has to do something. So I can see them dragging this out, especially now that the Usos are involved again. So I'm gonna go Baron Corbin, and this gets pushed out probably another month.
Yes.
Or hey, what if it gets pushed out to Mania? What if it's a 6-man tag?
Oh my God, Teddy Long special.
Yeah.
So now I'm staying with my pick. But I guess to play devil's advocate, the other argument could be if you're going to play this out for another month and you need another match out of these two, what you could do is have Roman win. And then in the Rumble, Corbin ends up eliminating Roman Reigns by some kind of mischievous method where even after Corbin is eliminated, you have Corbin come back in, hit him with a chair, he knocks him out or whatever, continuing the program with these two where both are eliminated, but Corbin ends up getting his heat back after eliminating Roman Reigns in the Rumble. So that could be another scenario that is likely and probable, but I'm still going to stick with Corbin winning here by crook or hook, and Roman Reigns entering the Rumble. And, well, I'll leave my prediction there, but that's my thought. But, again, you could easily have this continue out. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to leave it there because I have the Rumble match prediction coming up. But this is a very difficult one because even Corey Graves on SmackDown alluded to that, the WWE Universe, some feel that this is just a foregone conclusion that Roman Reigns is going to have his way with King Corbin on the Royal Rumble. Like, he acknowledged it on air that everyone believes Roman's going to win, and those are the matches you got to be careful about.
Exactly. Especially for WWE to mention that, like verbally, says a lot. So it's an interesting twist. Or maybe it was just Corey, saying something that he maybe shouldn't have said, but I doubt it at this point,
Yeah, I doubt it, but it is well known throughout. I mean, you poll any average wrestling fan, a WWE fan that is semi-familiar with the product, and you'd probably get a 75% to 80% belief Roman Reigns is going to win this match. So this one I'm staying the hell away from. If anyone's putting money on this, I would stay away from this match. It's just there's too many variables playing into this. So I'm getting stressed just thinking about it. So this is where things start to fall out. So all right, well, this is actually one maybe more of a safe landing. The next two are, to me, a little bit more comfortable. So let's start with the SmackDown Women's Championship. Bayley versus Lacey Evans. I'm going to let you take this one first.
Yeah, I don't think Lacey is quite there yet to be champion. I think she's made a lot of improvements character-wise, even if we haven't gotten necessarily answers for certain things, like why she turned to begin with. I think Bayley wins here, but I think this is going to be the start to a feud down the road for Bayley's WrestleMania opponent. I'm not going to mention that yet because that kind of ties into my prediction later on. But I think this is going to be a pretty decent match. I think Bayley is going to go over here, and as she should, Bayley needs to remain champion to establish her heel character even more going forward. And I think Bayley deserves to go into WrestleMania as champion. So I see her retaining here, but I see Lacey putting in a really good effort. And then obviously with the Rumble match being later on, I would assume placement-wise on the card, I could see Lacey entering the Rumble match and having another good showing there, but Bayley wins here.
Yeah, so man, no, I need to stop. My brain is my own worst enemy here. So Bayley, here's the thing. Like Bayley, I think overall WWE has done if I was going to grade them on what they've done with her since they've turned her heel, and Sasha for that matter, I'd give them a D minus. I mean, as far as their follow-up,
sure.
Yeah, as far as their follow-up, it's been, it's all very close to fail. And so with Bayley and Lacey Evans here, the thing is, Lacey Evans this past week they really tried to pull at the heartstrings of fans. I mean, blatantly tried to pull at the heartstrings of fans to get her in the good graces. Yeah. With Michael Cole interviewing her on the ramp, and she's talking about, how tough of an upbringing she had, and she went to the military, and her daughter, and all the crocodile tears that she was crying on the ramp, which were nothing more than crocodiles. I looked, I didn't see actual tears, and I'm sure there was real emotion there, but it felt rehearsed, and it felt forced with crocodile tears. And I appreciate what they're doing with Lacey. I do. I get it. And they're trying to humanize her and get people to relate to family and to achieving anything. My God, how many times do we hear that as if it's like a public service announcement?
Right.
And I understand what they're doing psychologically, but that's also the problem is I am being like, I can see it so obviously that it's turning me off and it's distracting from something that could happen organically without you just blatantly telling me what you're trying to do to me. But so with all that said, to my prediction, I'm going to oppose you on this one just for the sake of opposing you because I am split down the damn middle. This one seemed like an easy spot because Bayley makes sense. Look, if I was booking this, Bayley would win. Bayley would win hands down, and you continue her on a heel run. And because I think that Bayley has not had the greatest SmackDown women's run that she could have. So I think Lacey Evans, boy, I'm not confident, but I'm going to do it just to do it. Because it's a coin toss for me. I'm going to say Lacey Evans wins because of what they've tried to do these past few weeks of really trying to cement her as this homegrown, family-loving, military-serving woman that you can't hate. They have really laid it on thick. And they're trying to set a base for what they're going to be doing at the Rumble of making her champion, and the fans they're doing their best to try to prevent and mitigate the fans rebelling against this decision. So please don't let me talk you into this one. No, stick with your pick. But Lacey Evans wins, very not confident, and I would still have Bayley win, but there's my pick.
Yeah, no, and I'm struggling with this one as well because part of me, before I made my decision, I have this want, I think, more than anything, and I can picture it I can see Sasha coming out and screwing Bayley over and having Lacey win that way, and that would start their feud to have just a grudge match at WrestleMania. I think for me personally, why I want Bayley to just have a significant match this year at Mania is just because I just feel like she deserves it. Out of all of them, I feel like she's kind of got the short end of the stick, and she's so solid in the ring. She's probably one of the best that they have in ring-wise. So I think that's why I want her just to do something substantial, and that's why I chose her to retain here. But I could definitely see them going with Lacey just because of the type of promo that she cut on Friday. And I didn't really know how I felt about her promo, honestly. I think for me, and of course hindsight is 20/20, but to me, I would have envisioned that type of promo like in a sit-down environment with backstage with her and Michael, in like a dark setting, and having her explain that, and then maybe that's when you have Bayley attack her in the back, and then that's when they can continue the feud, running out into the arena and play out the rest of the night like they did. And I think for me personally that it just would have maybe set in more for me, because all of a sudden, like on I was just expecting her to hype her match, and then all of a sudden she's talking about depression and her father and all this, which don't get me wrong, like I'm here for her message and what she's doing. I just wasn't expecting it at that time in the build to the Royal Rumble.
Yep.
But yeah, man, again, this is where it really starts to get hard, which is good, a good problem to have, because a lot of years we've gone into WrestleMania being able to pretty much predict it ourselves exactly how it's going to end up being.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with, and I'm glad that we're not sitting here going, oh, we clearly know what's going to happen here. I don't want that. This is a good thing. And is Lacey Evans, you're right. I think it's the platform that they chose to give this content to the audience that didn't feel real. It was very transparent what they were trying to do. And the message, like you said, it's fine. And that's fine. And I get it. Psychologically, I understand. But like you said, it could have been easily a backstage sit-down promo with Michael Cole or whomever. And they could have shown maybe some home footage of her with her father, and pictures of her and her family, or her quick time, or her time in the military, some quick stuff. And instead, they just went with the emotion, tried to pull at the heartstrings that didn't really resonate with me. And just really quick with
it, really quick, And I think that's what a story like that, and with that strong of a message, that needed to. If you're not going to have a strong minute video package building up to it and showing why she ended up turning, and have this play into why she turned face. She realized what she was doing. Her daughter was watching. It affected her daughter. That's why she realized, you know what, I'm not setting the right example. And then that's why she ended up turning. So I think that piece to Lacey is what's missing it for me. And that's why I feel kind of confident at the end of the day sticking with Bayley. But again, like we've been saying, I could very well see them turning it into that feel good moment for Lacey as well. Especially at the Rumble, one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year, and what better way to win your first title at the Royal Rumble?
That's what I'm saying too. Is where she could win would really cement her as a legitimate competitor in the women's division on SmackDown, and not just hot-shotting Lacey Evans, which I think as a whole they're making slow progress with the fans. I mean, at first, I think people were reluctant, like, what are we doing here? And then she teams with Natty, which made no sense. And then the whole thing the official term with her, with Sasha and Bayley getting in her daughter's face. So it's been a slow progression. I think there's still things they could do to get the fans to even buy in more to this. Is maybe alter her look a little bit. She doesn't have to change her entrance music. But I don't know. Maybe a little tweak here and there. It wasn't a couple of months ago she was calling everyone in the arena nasties. I mean, it was just, I don't know. So nonetheless, moving on to the other women's championship, Becky versus Asuka. I'll take this one first. This one to me, it's fascinating that the psychology of this one is so much different from every other Becky Lynch match. I like the psychology on this one. The outcome is a little bit predictable, but that's okay. But it's the build to this match that felt unlike any other Becky Lynch build, in that Becky has positioned herself, and successfully in my mind anyway, as an underdog. And that's not easy to do when she goes around talking about she's the man, and she's collecting debts, and she's coming around, and she's dominating in every match. And this one, she's done a good job, and the storyline has, at least in my mind, they've done a good job of making me feel doubt that Becky Lynch could lose the belt here. Because it's true that Becky Lynch has not beaten Asuka. Look at last year's Royal Rumble, which I still completely disagree with that outcome. A year later, made zero sense going into WrestleMania to face Ronda Rousey, and you have her lose to Asuka, tapping out no less, which made it double bad.
And I think that's the part.
God, that made it so. I'm still not happy. But they're trying to make a what is it? Lemon out of lemonade here, or make lemonade out of lemons. That's the phrase I was going for. And at least with that booking decision, now bringing it back a year later, they are trying to build it as Becky's never beaten you. Look what happened last year. That is I think, a great way to at least make good of a terrible booking decision. And so I'm looking forward to this match. Quality, Asuka is, I think, certainly rebounded from where she was after she lost to Charlotte, her SmackDown Women's Championship last year, and went into the Abyss, and then came back as the Kabuki Warriors, and which I was a little bit concerned about. And then now she has been thrust into the title picture. I like where Asuka's at. I don't think Asuka's going to win. I think Becky Lynch overcomes and retains the Raw Women's Championship. But I'm expecting a great match with a lot of potential tap outs, and this one could be a classic. I'm really looking forward to this one, but ultimately I think Becky retains.
I'm right there with you. I think for the story too, I think Becky needs to win here, because regardless of what happens with the Rumble match and at WrestleMania or whatever, I think for Asuka and Becky's story going forward, Becky needs to win this, because then they can have a rubber match in the future. They can even have the rubber match at WrestleMania if they want to. They can kind of play the same story. If Asuka loses here or loses tomorrow night at the Rumble and her match against Becky, she can maybe enter later on in the Rumble match and win, and then go on to fight Becky. There's just so many different options that they can do here. So I think this is going to be a hard-hitting match between the two of them. I think they're going to look to go out there and steal the show. But I think Becky's going to win here for sure. And I think Asuka's going to look great in this match, and I see her having a strong showing in the Rumble match as well. But Becky needs to win this one.
She has to, like you said, because also Asuka's a tag team champion, one half of the women's tag team champions. To have Asuka hold two belts, it doesn't make sense.
Not now.
No,
not right now.
No,
they cooled her off way too much to be Asuka two belts right now.
Exactly. It just, to have Asuka doing double duty doesn't make sense right now. I would be shocked if Asuka wins the belt here. I wouldn't go off the wall. I would just be like, okay, well, I don't know where you're going from here, because I think Asuka's deserving. That's not the problem. And so, again, match quality is what I'm looking for. I expect to be emotionally invested in this one. I like the story behind it. It's much different than any other one that she's been in since she's been the champion for the last 9-10 months. And plus, having Becky go all the way to WrestleMania as the women's champion, Raw Women's Champion, I think makes sense. They're so close now. Why would you drop the ball now to have her go all the way to WrestleMania and not defend the championship at the event she won it at, in the first ever women's main event? It just makes sense to have her go all the way to at least a year. So, I don't know. Any last thoughts on this match?
Yeah, really quick. And I think, too, that what you just ended there is what is really tying it in for me as well. I think that's part of the story, and that's going to be the story in the video package that they play at Mania. Becky has been the champion for a year, and she won the title that meant the most to her, which was Ronda Rousey's title, the Raw Women's title. So I think if things had been different this past 6 months, even for Asuka going into this match, I could very well see Asuka winning tomorrow night and then having Becky go into WrestleMania season as the underdog, because Becky is the hottest, arguably, as the underdog, and having that want to obtain something. It's just different, her fight going after the title than being the champion, which is understandable. It's like that for everyone, and it's not a knock on her at all. I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing. I'm just saying it's a completely different version of her. And like I said, maybe if Asuka was stronger right now, or if it was someone different that was at a stronger level, maybe. But right now, the story is Becky Lynch versus whoever wins the Rumble, or if Ronda ends up returning, or what they have going forward. But Becky as a champion is where it's at right now.
It is.
In my mind.
Yeah, it is. And whoever finally beats Becky Lynch, there's going to have to be a long discussion and reasoning and story arc for who beats Becky and why. I mean, because to think about the history that those women made, main eventing WrestleMania 35, Becky taps out Ronda Rousey and then keeps the belt for 10 months, maybe even up to a year. Whoever defeats Becky, and when she finally loses, it's going to have to be not just we're just going to do it to shock people. It's got to be reasoned out. This is a huge moment. This isn't just your typical run-of-the-mill
right,
women's
and that's not the
championship
story right
match.
now.
Exactly.
The length of her title isn't the story of her title, right?
No, it's not. So
not right now.
No, it will be.
Sure.
It will be, but yeah, it's this is, again, there's so many title losses and changes and whatever that you just go, okay, we'll see how this person does. This is not one you can mess around with. This is one that you need to really think out, and I have faith that they will. Not that Asuka's not worthy. It's just storyline and timing don't line up with Asuka yet. If she's eventually the one, maybe at Mania, maybe Ronda Rousey doesn't come back and they have a triple threat. God knows WWE loves triple threats. Maybe they have her, Asuka, and I don't even know. Kairi Sane, who knows? In a triple threat, and Asuka wins, fine. But it's just not time yet. It's not the time. It's not the platform. It's not the pay-per-view to do it. So, okay, this next one also scares me. No pun intended. Because it's so easy on the surface, and that's The Fiend. Bray Wyatt versus Daniel Bryan in a strap match. Not a Texas Bull Rope match, even though they're in Texas. Just a strap match. And let me gather my thoughts. I'm going to give it to you.
Take a deep breath.
Because it's so easy, but it's a lot like Roman Reigns and Corbin, but this time the Universal Championship's on the line. Who wins this one for you?
I was really hoping you were going to go first. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, no. I mean, I have my pick. I'm just trying to come up with the reason for it. So because this one also ties into the Rumble.
Exactly. So that's why I'm like, I don't know how to start off what I want to say, because it kind of ties into the Rumble match itself.
All right. So I think I've got it. I can go if you want me to go. Okay.
Yeah. So, thank you.
Sure. So, okay. The obvious pick is Bray Wyatt retains, and Daniel Bryan puts up a hell of a fight. Maybe he uncovers the weakness of the Fiend, which, my guess, I don't know, I woke up this morning, I'm like, oh, that's got to be it. I don't know why. I must have been dreaming about it subconsciously. It was bizarre. I woke up, the first thing I thought of,
you let him in,
not, hey, I got to feed my son, not I got to go to the bathroom. It's, that's how the Fiend gets to, that is the first thing I thought of. I'm an awful person. So
great.
My guess is what the source of the Fiend's power is his mask. And not that I want to see Bray Wyatt get demasked and go through another 2003 or whatever when Kane got demasked, and then it really, I think, fell flat in some areas. But I think maybe that's the source of the Fiend's, in a fantasy cartoon land, the source of his power. So if Daniel Bryan attempts to demask the Fiend, he shows weakness. Maybe he doesn't get to the mask and he doesn't actually pull it off, but in his loss, I think we will get a big, big clue as to what the Fiend's weakness is, and it could be the mask itself, because we haven't got an explanation of what the mask is, where it came from, it just is there. And that's my guess. So, with all that said, I'm expecting, first of all, a very physical match. I think both guys are going to have welts, especially Daniel Bryan, all over his body from this match. We saw just from a few strikes on SmackDown what that belt can do. So I think it's going to be physical. It's going to be brutal. I think you're going to see the typical Fiend being inhuman with all of the punishment he can take and finishers that he kicks out of and all that stuff that we've seen in the past, because they have forced themselves to continue with that narrative. You can't just have him suddenly, be like anybody else. But the whole key to this is, what is his weakness? We will get a big clue. In Daniel Bryan's loss, we will get a big clue. The Fiend retains, and I think the mask is the source of his power. How about that?
That is so crazy because that plays into one of my scenarios. If Daniel were to win or if Daniel were to lose, that whole weakness part. So again, this is so hard. I think, and part of me with what you were saying there is what I'm feeling as well. I think that Daniel Bryan is going to expose the weakness, but I don't think he's going to be able to capitalize on it. I think he's going to expose it for the next person to come and capitalize and use that to conquer the Fiend at WrestleMania, which will tie into later on. This one was probably, I don't want to say it's hard because this one in the Rumble match for the men's were like super, super hard for me, but because I could see going to WrestleMania, I could see more options with Daniel Bryan as the champion as opposed to the Fiend as the champion. Because if Daniel wins, you have the obvious one being Roman. They can go so many different roads with that, and it could be just the standard good guy versus good guy. And I think WWE could see that as a positive for Roman, because even if Roman were to beat Daniel at Mania, I could see them having like hugging it out at the end of the match and Daniel putting Roman over and like holding his hand up. So I could envision something like that. Because who better for Roman to beat than Daniel Bryan, fan reception wise, at this point. And because part of me is kind of concerned too, if Roman were to win the Rumble and to go on to beat the Fiend or to even face the Fiend at Mania, fans could turn on Roman. But we'll get into all that later on. But so I just think there's so many different options or more options available if Daniel wins. And then that kind of frees up the Fiend as well for other scenarios. But I think I'm going to go with Fiend wins here. I think the Fiend, it's hard because as I say it, I'm just looking at just like all the different names, because you could see Daniel Bryan versus Sheamus, so I could see Daniel Bryan giving Kofi his Mania moment back, or even Daniel Bryan versus Baron Corbin. Just so many, but yeah, I'm gonna go with Fiend winning here. Like you said, it's going to be a brutal match. I think Daniel's gonna get torn up here. Probably a bloody back, all that, but yeah, I could even see. I don't know. I was about to say I could see them even allowing Daniel to unmask the Fiend, but we don't see his face, obviously. Like, it's just he unmasks him and then the Fiend covers his face immediately,
and
or since the red, or since the light is going to be red already, we don't get a chance to see it and he goes under the ring, whatever. But I could see something like that happening, and then that just being like a light bulb moment for everyone, and then that setting up the next feud for the Fiend. So I'm sorry, that was long-winded, but yeah, I'm gonna go Fiend retaining here. It would not shock me, and I would not be disappointed if Daniel were to win. But I'm going with the Fiend winning, and then I think Daniel kind of phases out for a little bit.
Yeah, no, don't apologize, because there's so many thoughts and so many roads to take that.
Yeah, especially just Just because with Daniel, I can just see with Daniel as the champion, there just being so many different options, especially because Daniel's a good guy. There's just people like part of me has this weird feeling that like Daniel versus Sheamus, or Daniel versus Roman, Sheamus, or Kofi. I can just envision at Mania for obvious different reasons, but that wouldn't surprise me. But then, because then that would free up the Fiend too for like an Undertaker match or whatever.
Or they could do Roman and the Fiend without the championship.
Yeah.
I mean,
and play into their history from the Shield versus the Wyatt family and things like that. They don't have to have, and that's why I want to be like, okay, well, the Fiend doesn't need the title. He doesn't have to take a pin loss here or any type of like actual submission, pin loss, anything. It's a strap match, right? Because the way you win is by hitting each four corners, right?
That's the Texas Bull Rope match. I thought it was pinfall or submission.
Oh, is it pinfall?
I thought it was pinfall and submission only. That's what I think they even said that on SmackDown.
Okay, I'm
because I think that was mentioned right before the contract signing by Michael Cole. If I'm not mistaken, because I know I've seen that where you have to hit each corner of the ring and then you win.
Yeah.
But in this case, I think it's just the gimmick is he's tied to the Fiend, and you have to win by pinfall or submission.
So I'm sticking with the Fiend winning then, because I was gonna say, since the Fiend would have to actually take like a pinfall or submission loss, I could see that being like an escape for them. But no, with that, I still wouldn't be surprised to see Daniel win, but I'm sticking with the Fiend.
Yeah, I am too. But again, if he ends up losing and Daniel Bryan ends up capturing the Universal Championship, like I'm totally fine with that.
Oh, absolutely.
I am good with Daniel Bryan winning. My concern is if WWE truly believes that if Roman wins the Rumble and Daniel Bryan makes it to Mania, if they truly believe that is going to be a main event that the audience is not going to crap all over Roman Reigns for. Again, the match quality would be awesome, but in terms of their beloved babyface reaction that Vince McMahon obsesses over for Roman, look out. I mean, they can hug all they want, but the fact of the matter is, throughout the entire match, Roman Reigns is going to get destroyed. I mean, all those feelings from 2015, 16, 17 are all going to be just stirred and dug back up, and it's going to be a complete disaster. If they truly believe putting him against Roman Reigns, or put Daniel Bryan against Roman Reigns, is a good idea for the reaction standpoint, boy, they better...
So is it safer? Is a safer match Roman versus Daniel or Roman versus Fiend for the title Mania?
Roman versus Fiend is... Boy,
honestly,
neither is a great option. If you made me pick a poison to, and I was going to die if I did not choose the right one in which Roman got less boos, it would probably be the Fiend, just because right now, the fact is that the Fiend is not actually getting booed right now. The Fiend, if you listen, it's just kind of, when he attacks Daniel Bryan, there's not any boos. It's just kind of people making noise or staying silent, which in other words, people are refusing to truly boo the Fiend because he's so damn cool and original. So to get him to Mania, there's things they could do along the way to make the Fiend really dislikable. They have 2 months to work with to make him really dislikable, so when they get to WrestleMania, the fans don't completely demolish Roman Reigns. But Daniel Bryan is so beloved. Even as a heel, he was beloved. So to get him to Mania with Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, again, you run the risk of, they have a history. These two, and Daniel Bryan, you could argue, is a big reason for the reaction of Roman Reigns to begin with because of what happened in the 2015 Rumble, 2016 Rumble.
Right.
Like, there are things that the fans don't forget of, oh yeah, that's right, I remember this. And they were supposed to cheer Roman Reigns against Daniel Bryan. It's not going to happen. No, honestly, neither option is a good option for a positive reaction for Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. I just don't think so.
And that's why this and the Rumble match is so tricky for me, because of Roman. Like, he is such a weird factor in so many different characters' lives in WWE, if you think about it, and it's definitely gotten a lot better, this past year, and they've definitely done the right thing with him. He's been nowhere near the title picture, pretty much the main event. So they've definitely done the right thing with him. But man, it's just like, for instance, this match in particular, like, if Roman was not a factor at all, for me personally, it would be so much easier to pick, because that would be a huge percentage that I wouldn't have to factor in to the decision.
Yeah, like you said, Roman Reigns, oddly enough, is a huge wild card for his match with Corbin and then his Royal Rumble participation. So let's get to the Royal Rumble matches. So just because we have to get there now, because everything ties into these Royal Rumble matches. But let's talk about the women's first, then we'll get to the men's. The women's Royal Rumble match to me is, and I hate to say it because the women have made so many great strides, and I love what they've done, and certainly they have just come light years from what they were. But the women's Royal Rumble match this year feels very secondary, and I don't like that. And it just feels as if, oh, that's right, the women have a Rumble match. I actually said that like a couple of times. I'm like, oh, that's right, they do. And I think a lot of that blame is to WWE for making it feel like a second-hand Rumble for them. Kind of like a secondary, oh yeah, that's right, the women have one too, we'll get to that. That's how I feel. I don't like that. So with that being said, I think this match, while there have been, I'm looking here, 8 or 9 actual confirmed entrants out of 30.
I think there's like 8, yeah.
It's insane. And right now, the good thing is I think a lot of loose ends will be tied up here. I think you're going to see returns for sure in this one. This is not an easy one. This one to me is almost harder than the Men's Rumble, simply because we don't know who's going to be in this match. From returns of Nia Jax, Ronda Rousey floating around everywhere, and she was on my top 5 pick of who could potentially return and win. I haven't heard anything about her, but... And then there's also, had Nia Jax, and you have NXT stars, right? You have Shayna Baszler floating around. What's she going to do? So, boy, this is really rough. So here's what I think is going to happen in terms of returns. Nia Jax returns, makes a huge impact. I think she clears the ring, and I hope she returns as a heel. I love her way more as a heel. And then you also have... NXT stars coming in, making an impact there as well. And also Charlotte here. I think people shouldn't sleep on Charlotte Flair, who has been really hiding in like the abyss for the last couple of months, not doing a whole lot, beating Sarah Logan in 5 seconds.
Kind of hiding in plain sight in a way.
It's weird. So that's why I've said that when that started happening, is look out, because they are putting in her holding pattern for something bigger. Now, does that mean bigger as in she's going to win the Royal Rumble match? I don't think so, but I think she's going to have a huge showing in this, maybe coming down to the last 2 or 3. She will be resurrected in this match of really reminding us who she is. And that's fine that she has been in the shadows for a while, because I think that makes it more special when she comes back to the forefront. So I expect her to make a huge impact. I expect Nia Jax to make a huge impact. I expect NXT stars to make a huge impact. Do I expect Ronda Rousey to come back? Oh, that's a tough one. I haven't heard anything, and usually in today's day and age, you hear things through social media, or you see clues, or people making great predictions, and it's hard to hide stuff nowadays. So part of me is really, really wanting Ronda Rousey to come back and win the damn thing and face Becky, and we get finally that one-on-one match. But I think ultimately what's going to happen is Shayna Baszler wins. That's my pick. Shayna Baszler wins, and again, this is contingent upon Ronda Rousey not coming back, because I think if Ronda Rousey decides and calls Vince and says, I want to come back, she's winning the Rumble, because that would be a great story with her and Becky at WrestleMania, 1-on-1. But you also have Shayna Baszler, who has a great presence. She could easily, and the promo she had with Becky before Survivor Series was lights out awesome. So there's also unfinished business there. So I think Shayna Baszler is the most likely. I think that having her and Becky 1-on-1 at WrestleMania would be awesome. So there's my pick, and we have Shayna Baszler winning the damn thing.
Yeah, you kind of stole my thunder there, man.
Sorry.
I'm not gonna lie. The second you said Shayna, like, my heart just kind of like, oh.
Sorry.
No, but I'm happy, because I'm hopeful that since we're both on that same track, that's what WWE's mindset is, because I kind of think that they've downplayed the Women's Rumble match on purpose in a way. Just because I think that they want the surprise impact of Shayna coming in, dominating the match, winning, setting up what we all would most likely be her versus Becky at WrestleMania. I think besides just the obvious answer and the obvious reasoning, it's Shayna's time. Like, she no longer in a weird way fits in at NXT anymore in the women's division. I feel like they've kind of moved on, and I don't mean that to sound negative, because I don't, it's not a bad thing. I feel like she has elevated that division, and her reign was so dominant, she can't pretty much replicate that at this point. She has to move on. And especially with NXT pretty much being an equal brand, if we're supposed to be believing that at this point, she needs to move on to Raw and face Becky Lynch. I think that's the money match. I would love to see Ronda return, but I kind of don't feel like that's going to happen this year. If it does, maybe, as oddly as enough, maybe she returns for like a SummerSlam type thing. Or maybe she just doesn't return at all this year and she holds out until next year. but I don't, and I'm kind of surprised that I feel this way, but I think I'm more looking forward to a Shayna Becky match than a Ronda Becky match at this point. I just think Shayna deserves it at this point, and the chemistry and just the visual that we had at Survivor Series with those two, I think that just screams WrestleMania, and I could just see the poster and see their faces like at the arena right now. So that I think that's where the money's at for them.
I agree. Now, would I turn down a Ronda Rousey Becky Lynch one-on-one match at WrestleMania?
No. If Ronda's willing to come back, absolutely. But I wouldn't force it.
No, I wouldn't either. And the thing is, Shayna Baszler, I think, is honestly, she's more of a wrestler in the sense that she understands the nuances of being in WWE and how to bring the audience in. She feels more homegrown. She understands the system, whereas Ronda is, she's the outsider, and she certainly adapted very quickly. People compared her to Kurt Angle of how quickly she picked up the business, and that's awesome. And I loved her as a heel. I think Ronda Rousey as a heel is destiny for her, and I loved her heel run that I feel got cut short. So would I turn down a Ronda Becky match? Hell no. But if you put those matches side by side, oh man, I would probably pick Baszler Becky. It's not easy, and it's a good problem to have. But ultimately, I think Ronda Rousey's probably not going to return. Will I be shocked if I hear her rowdy Ronda Rousey music, in number 29 or 30? No, I wouldn't. And I would love it, and I would love to see how the crowd reacts to her coming back, given how she left. But ultimately, I think it's Baszler's time, and I think her and Becky, one-on-one, I'm gritting my teeth, WWE, is where it's at. And I don't see her, if she wins, going after Bayley or whoever's champion. And it just, to me, I'm with you.
Yeah, and before we move on really quick, I kind of ruled out Charlotte right off the bat because I feel like if they didn't have any other options, Charlotte would be an obvious choice this year to go on to face Becky. But I think they have way too many options at this point to have Charlotte win. But the other one I put some thought into was Sasha. Maybe I don't know if dark horse is the right terminology for it, but it kind of wouldn't surprise me to see Sasha maybe get an early entrant, 7, 8, 9, and obviously last the entire match, but kind of hide or go under the bottom rope and just maybe hide on the outside of the ring and then come back and get a cheap victory. And then that kind of set up some friction between her and Bayley, because Bayley's going to assume that Sasha's not going to choose to go after her, and she's going to choose to go after to go after Becky with their history. And we can kind of play around with Sasha's decision for a while. So that was kind of a second choice for me.
Yeah, I never really... Sasha winning would be a shocker, I'll be honest, just because of the way she's been positioned. And
just to heat her up pretty quickly, because Sasha could then use that to brag and to boast, and her thing is, her character is money goal-oriented now, so I could see her, obviously, winning the Royal Rumble. You would expect that to be a pretty good payday, and obviously that would mean that she's going to be in one of the quote-unquote main events at WrestleMania, so I could just see them kind of using that as a dark horse, and maybe Shayna still making her appearance in the Rumble, and God, I don't even want to say it, getting cheaply eliminated or something like that. But could you imagine that backlash?
No.
I don't know. Maybe we should move on. But yeah, so the Sasha thing was just a second option that I was kind of toying with earlier.
Yes, I'm with you. And as you mentioned about Shayna getting just basically just getting thrown out just as a normal elimination or something like that, it brought back something that I didn't think of. And I believe it was the 2015 Rumble in Philly when Roman got absolutely demolished and The Rock came out and he couldn't save him. Loved it. Again, I bring it up a couple of times because it's one of my favorite moments of all time, and I love that audience. It's just awesome.
Rock's face, you could tell he had no idea. He himself was shocked.
Oh, he was just kind of what the F are you guys booing for? I'm the damn Rock, and you guys, I'm endorsing this guy, and you're still booing. Yes, Rock, it's that deep, right? The hatred is that deep. But my point is I was going to bring up is in that Rumble, I believe it was that Rumble when Daniel Bryan got eliminated, I believe it was Bray Wyatt who eliminated him from that Rumble. and that's when he got unceremoniously
I
eliminated.
think it was.
And
Yeah,
that's
just
when the
like it was
crowd
so happenstance, like nothing, no.
Yeah, and they
Oh.
were like, oh, okay, the guy we wanted to win just got unceremoniously eliminated by Bray Wyatt. And I felt very bad for Rey Mysterio. I believe he was number 30 that year, and the crowd
Poor
just booed the
guy.
hell out of him.
That's probably the
Because
only time in his career he was ever booed.
Yeah, it's true. I think it. Yeah, and so I'm almost positive that that's the case. So if it is, it's just kind of I don't think that WWE is even thinking about that. But the way that things line up, it's funny that 5 years later these two are facing each other 1-on-1 for the Universal Championship. So just something I thought about. Okay, let's get to it. Right, let's get to the damn men's Royal Rumble match. Do you want me to go first on this, or do you feel confident? Because you got your flow chart in front of you.
Yeah, I do. Oh man. No, I guess I'll start.
Okay, go ahead.
So, I guess obviously the first thing to determine is if Lesnar is gonna win or not, right? Obviously he's number one, and that's pretty much the story going into it. And that's where the problem is for me, because I had this weird feeling that maybe they're trying to turn Lesnar into a good guy. One of my crazy scenarios, and just hear me out, Lesnar comes in at 1, dominates, fights, goes over an hour, is in there till the very end. Seth Rollins comes out as number 30. AOP is already in there. Buddy Murphy is in there. They're the last, 5, 6 guys in there. They all help eliminate Brock Lesnar, and Seth Rollins wins the Rumble match. And now we go into WrestleMania in a complete reverse role. Seth Rollins is this major heel. Everyone's pissed off at him. Bad guy going in to conquer Brock Lesnar, who's this huge babyface now. He just had this dominant performance in the Royal Rumble match, all this good stuff. And who better to talk up Brock Lesnar than Paul Heyman in a babyface version? And I think just what we've been seeing of Lesnar lately, the past few weeks, he was interacting with R-Truth, Ricochet, even though he kind of just shot Ricochet down right away. It was poor guy, but I don't know. I could kind of see them. It wouldn't surprise me if they maybe had Lesnar turn here and maybe go on to face a heel Seth Rollins. So that was one option, but then I could see them wanting him to remain heel and having like a Drew McIntyre win. I think, again, I don't know if Dark Horse is the right term for a Drew McIntyre type, but the slow build that we've seen with Drew the past few weeks and the just awesome match that he had against Randy Orton a couple weeks ago on Raw, I just thought that was such a good, solid, hard-hitting match. And you could tell when Randy Orton is feeling it and he's into a match, and he was just so into, you could just tell they vibed and their chemistry was just perfect. So I could see Drew winning this and going on and being the guy to conquer Brock Lesnar. So I think, but then again, and of course, then we have all the possible entries as well from NXT, like your Matt Riddles or your Keith Lees, or surprise entrants like, John Cena, Undertaker, Edge. I think last time we talked, you were pretty confident, right, that Edge was a likely surprise entrant.
If there was going to be
then
Edge would be most likely.
Yeah. And of course, CM Punk is out there too. I don't know. I think with the amount of guys that they have announced already, I think the last count was at 26. I could see if they were going to have 2 NXT guys come in, I could see it being Keith Lee and Matt Riddle. I could see Matt Riddle being number 2 just for the fun of it. And then finally having that visual of Brock versus Riddle, and WWE kind of getting a feel for that, maybe for future reference, and just kind of play around with that idea. And I think too, if Lesnar doesn't win, obviously then the speculation is whoever eliminates him is going to be who goes after him at WrestleMania. But I think too, Elimination Chamber is right around the corner, and I think whoever doesn't win the Rumble, whoever wins at Elimination Chamber, that stipulation could be that they go on to face whoever the remaining champion is at Mania. So I think I'm going to go, my choice here is going to be Drew McIntyre. I think before last time we spoke, I went with Roman. But I think I'm going to go with Drew. I think I'm going to go with Drew. And then I think I could see Roman Reigns winning at Elimination Chamber to go on to face The Fiend at Mania. So,
wow. Okay.
yeah. I told you, man, there's a lot into that. And then that's not even touching on like the surprise like possibilities and stuff like that. But if we're just going on based off like the current roster stuff.
All right.
This is so hard.
It is, because this is a fascinating match. I haven't, I've been watching the Rumble for 20 years, and every time you usually have an idea of, it's got to be this person. And yeah, we have that person this year. We have Roman Reigns as that person. He's that person again. He's the overwhelming favorite to win. Just like in his match with Corbin. So smart money would tell you Roman wins and he challenges The Fiend at WrestleMania. That seems to just be the overwhelming just group think of what's going to happen. Roman versus The Fiend at Mania. And that very well may be the case. And that is a likely scenario. But you just outlined, how do they turn Brock Lesnar face? If they want Seth Rollins to face Brock Lesnar, because Seth Rollins as a heel champion, not just as a tag champion, but as a heel champion, would be awesome in that stable. Not, again, my problem with that is that he just became tag champions, and I don't know if they would put double duty on him. I have no problem with it. He's done it in the past. I believe he beat John Cena, and he was United States and WWE champion at one point a few SummerSlams ago.
Yeah.
So they've done it, and they have an awesome backing behind him with Buddy Murphy and AOP. Again, we've sung the praises of this group. Putting the belt on him, I've talked myself out of it, because he's just not in that scenario right now with Brock Lesnar as the heel champion. You can't have heel versus heel in the main event of WrestleMania, obviously. But to get to that road, you've outlined a nice way of Brock being, going through hell, getting to the end, and you have that damn group standing there, and Brock eliminates a few, and maybe gets down to Rollins, and ultimately Rollins low blows him and throws him over the top or something, and boom, you've got a babyface Brock Lesnar tearing it up on Monday Night Raw, destroying the place, chasing after this group. You've almost kind of reversed what I did to you with Becky and Charlotte winning the women's tag belts a few weeks ago. Now you're starting to make me believe that Seth could win this thing.
And that's why I had to write it down, Matt, earlier, because I don't know why. It was kind of like how you woke up this morning thinking that. I was driving earlier today, and for whatever reason, Seth, it just hit me. I could see him being a double champion with his faction, just being this nasty heel, and what better version of Brock Lesnar to beat than a babyface who just went through the entire Rumble match, 60 plus minutes, and I feel like it can kind of write itself.
Wow. Yes, it could, and I don't think anyone's thinking about this. Everyone thinks it's going to be Roman, and I'll be honest with you, that was my pick originally. That was
Mine
my
too.
pick. Roman Reigns was my pick, and he, you know what? We're probably just making these scenarios up in our minds that may or may not come true. But to be honest, Roman, as you said, can still get to the main event of WrestleMania. We've said that before. There's two roads,
and it may be best for him not to win.
Exactly, because if you want to keep those memories suppressed for fans of all the bad feelings from the years past, of the perception of him being pushed, and Vince versus the fans, and it's a war of attrition, and all this stuff, and all the goodwill that you have built with fans over the last year with his cancer comeback, and him not being in the title picture, and not cutting, tater tot promos, all that stuff over the last year has certainly made progress. You don't want to just stir up something that could open an old wound. So having Roman get eliminated, number one, fans are going to love that. And go, okay, cool. But there's two roads to WrestleMania main event, and him winning the Elimination Chamber to face the Fiend, fine. You know what? That if ultimately that's where they're going to go, I'm okay with that match. But to win the Rumble, Seth and his group, even if they get eliminated, his cronies could come back out, because again, I have an issue with this. with the whole, if you're eliminated, you can also eliminate people that are still valid in the match.
I hate
Don't even
that.
get me. Think about any other sport in the world that allows eliminated teams or individuals to come back into that tournament or whatever is happening into the game and interfere in a valid way to then eliminate the people that you've already been eliminated for. It just makes no sense. So I'm sure we're going to see it. We're going to see that happen in some form or fashion in a Rumble match. Somebody who's already eliminated will cause somebody who's not eliminated yet to be eliminated or eliminate them themselves, which is even worse.
Oh
so
my gosh, it is.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. But if it is for if your scenario plays out for the ultimate prize of turning Brock babyface to get Seth to the main event to win the championship, I'm on board for it. I will sacrifice that complete lack of logic to have Brock in a scenario of getting all the way to the end. He's sweating profusely. He's beaten down. He's gone through, 25, 26 other guys, and he's standing there with Seth and the AOP or Seth and Buddy Murphy. And Brock eliminates most of them, but just Seth comes in at the last opportune moment and hits him with a cheap shot and eliminates Brock. And you've got a massive babyface on your hands. I'm loving that. Damn it. Yes, I think I'm going to change my pick. I think Seth Rollins wins this thing because I think that makes more sense. It protects Roman in a way that you are trying to mitigate the fans remembering what happened. And you have Seth get over as a mega heel. Yes, he's tag champions with Buddy Murphy, but you can have him defend those belts at whenever on Raw, have Brock interfere, and have them drop the belts back to the Viking Raiders or whoever. I mean, having them be tag champions is not, to me, a shield from him being a Universal Champion or winning the Rumble, rather. So that, to me, is a non-factor. Brock turning face, facing Seth, with that group is, to me, a slam dunk. Now, we haven't even talked about the wild cards with Keith Lee. I would love him. CM Punk wanted him. He, I think, will make another impact. You have, obviously, CM Punk himself. I think he's ruled out. I don't think Punk is going to be in the Rumble. I'll give it a 2% chance. Edge, I would say maybe, but I don't think that having Edge in the Rumble makes sense unless you're going to have him win the Rumble. I'm fine with him coming back for some kind of, one-off with somebody maybe later in February, early March. We get his debut on Raw. People lose their minds. That's fine. So I think Edge is out for the Rumble. But I'm looking forward to Brock Lesnar entering at 1. Who's number 2? That's very interesting to me. And having all those interactions with Brock Lesnar. I think Brock could dominate early where he just tosses out the first 5-6 people, and the announcers are going, who the hell can throw Brock Lesnar over? And they're wondering if it's going to, if Brock's just going to keep, tossing carcasses over the top rope. And then eventually getting a bigger guy at like 6 or 7, where it's Samoa Joe or Kevin Owens or whoever. And then having Brock be kind of hidden for the next 20 entrants until the end, and your scenario plays out. But the interactions with Brock and NXT guys, and Brock and guys he hasn't faced yet, those little stories within stories, I love that part of the Rumble, because you see teases of rivalries, teases of alliances. It's just so much about this match I love. So, damn it, you've sold me. I'm purchasing. I'm signing on the dotted line, and I'm going with your scenario. That's Seth Rollins, which I would love, because I love to hate him. I would love Seth Rollins to win this, and I think it's logical that he wins this. So, damn it, Seth Rollins is my pick.
Nice. I can see it. And because I can just envision Seth Rollins just verbally going at Paul Heyman just back and forth for weeks. Where it'll be completely different this time. The build will actually be raw and actually feel real this time, whereas last time it was just Seth feeling like someone told him to say that, which isn't his fault. He did the best he could with what he had. Don't get me wrong, but it's just like I feel like this time it'll be completely different because Seth Rollins is completely different. So, and especially with his new shirt, the Monday Night Messiah, like I can just envision it. Well, so I don't. But do you think? So, what do you think about Drew? Where do you think if Seth does win, or anyone else besides Drew for that matter? What do you think about Drew going forward?
Look, Drew McIntyre. I mean, I would feel more confident of Drew winning or being a potential to win if WWE laid more of a foundation for him, I think I've said this now in an earlier show this week, that Drew McIntyre is a guy that they've started and stopped so many times that every time he comes back, it was like, oh, here we go, they're going to do something with him, they're going to put him in a big program, and he ends up being maybe a lackey for Shane McMahon, or he ends up just he goes through a bunch of squash matches, and that's what he did for a couple of weeks, and they just haven't proven to me on a consistent basis that he is the focal point of what they're going to build for the future. I would love it. I think he is the future, and I think that he has a lot to offer as a heel or a face champion. He could be both. I just don't have the faith, and I don't think they've shown us that the WWE has the faith to put him in that position. I think he's going to make a huge impact. I would love to see him and Brock Lesnar have a moment in the Rumble. That would be awesome to have, just where, we've seen it before. We had it happen with Austin and Rock in the Rumble back in 2001 before Austin eliminated Kane, where you had bodies everywhere, one guy at one end of the ring, the other guy at the other end, and you have them both kind of stand up and make eye contact with each other. And that's what I would love. I would love that moment of Drew McIntyre and Brock Lesnar locking eyes, and you get a tease of what maybe could come later in 2020. I just don't think that WWE is at that point, and I haven't seen evidence for it other than, okay, this, he had that big victory in the triple threat match a couple of Monday Night Raws ago between him and Randy Orton and AJ Styles. So that's the only thing you can hang your hat on in terms of victories. And yeah, wins and losses don't matter in pro wrestling, but Drew McIntyre, outside of that one victory, hasn't really had a whole lot of big victories beyond that. So I just don't have the faith. I would love it, but I haven't seen evidence for it.
Yeah, no, I definitely see what you're saying and see where you're coming from. And that's why I was iffy on him, but I just had this weird feeling. He's just size-wise and just looking at him, like I could see him being, because I feel like if Brock Lesnar doesn't win, then whoever ends up winning the Royal Rumble isn't going to be like the actual main event. I feel like the focus is going to be on the Fiend versus like a Taker-esque type of level match, or that's how they're going to at least try to present it as. So that's why I was leaning more towards Drew, but then I was also thinking if Lesnar does end up winning, because if I was watching the TakeOver show and a video package, or maybe it's just NXT, but whichever showed the video packages they played for the Rumble, the one that they have, like, it's all about the numbers video.
Yep.
They had it, for whatever reason, it stood out to me more so this year than other years, but they always, when they say, like, there's only been two entrants, or two superstars who entered at number 1 and went on to win the whole thing, and of course they can only show Shawn Michaels because Chris Benoit was the other winner of that. So it just got me thinking, like, man, like, I know it's nothing major, but that could just be another bragging point for Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar. He entered at number 1 as champion, went and lasted against 29 other guys and won the entire thing. Now he can take WrestleMania off. He'll still be obligated to get his pay because he's the champion. It's just not his fault that he won the Royal Rumble match and he doesn't have a number 1 contender. And then maybe someone like a John Cena comes out because John Cena wasn't even in the match, or someone who didn't make their surprise return in the Rumble match itself would return on Monday Night Raw and kind of interrupt Paul and Brock and say, I wasn't in the match, because I think there was a term that someone else had brought up on a different show that Paul Heyman had said that Brock let, like, out of the contracted guys in the back or something to that, he used the word contracted, so that just got everyone thinking, like, maybe it's someone like a John Cena who'd be coming back. And I'm not advocating for it. It's just like another possibility if Lesnar were to win, or someone of that type of stature for a Brock Lesnar match at Mania. If Lesnar were to win, that is. But yeah, I don't know. There's just so many different options, and I'm excited this year because it's like we said earlier, it's not a match that you can easily predict. And I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about Lesnar being involved in the match when they first announced it, but man, like I'm here for it, and I'm really looking forward to tomorrow night.
That is a announcement that has grown on me day by day. When he, like you said, when he first announced it, I'm like, huh? Then he's not going to have a championship match? But the more that you think about it, this adds so much depth to the match, because who eliminates Brock if he's eliminated? But what if he wins? Paul Heyman's never discussed who, if he wins, what would, specifically what would happen. He said, he could take the day off, but again, this happened in a kind of a different way, obviously, with Vince McMahon winning the Rumble back in '99. He eliminated Stone Cold Steve Austin and then waived all rights and privileges as the number one contender. And then the WWE rulebook, this mythical book that we've never seen, says that if the winner waives all their privileges, the runner-up gets and inherits all of those rights and privileges. So, again, could they pull that out of the bag of tricks if Brock says, "Yeah, I'm the number one contender," or I won the Rumble, but no one's worthy of facing me. I'm going to waive all rights and privileges and take the day off, and then you get whoever was the runner-up inheriting those rights and privileges and becomes the main event of WrestleMania. I mean, could you have something like that? Maybe. I mean, you might be able to, if it comes down to Brock and a babyface, and it ultimately ends up being the babyface who's the victor because Brock verbally said, and maybe he gets it in writing, that he waives all of his rights, right? I don't know. I'm going far-fetched, but we've seen this before. I just don't know. Brock winning the Rumble is something that I've given a little thought to, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Outside of, it's Brock's bragging rights. And if they're going to keep him as a heel, that's, I guess, a good way to do it. And it would be, we have more questions than answers. And that's what wrestling shows should always strive to do at the end of the show, is leave you with questions. And I certainly would want to tune into Monday Night Raw to say, so he, as the champion, won the Royal Rumble, and he is going to do what? Face The Fiend and do a unification match? They're certainly not going to do that, although I'd love to see Brock and The Fiend at some point, not at WrestleMania necessarily. But again, it would leave you with a lot of questions, even though I don't think champions should be allowed to enter the Rumble. That's another story, if you're going to actually think about what the Rumble's for. But nonetheless, it's fascinating. The matchups, what if Brock, and this is another scenario I thought of earlier today, is, what if Brock ends up getting eliminated real quick? Right? What if it's a shocking moment, like Maven eliminating Undertaker, something like that? I mean, no one's ever thought. You know what I mean?
Like a Ricochet. Like yes. I had a weird, for whatever reason, when he kicked Ricochet and just completely, like, I don't want to say demolished Ricochet, but like kind of and laughed him off in a way. Like, didn't take him seriously, I guess, for lack of better words. Like, just did not take Ricochet seriously at all. And that kind of made me think, well, what if they have a Maven Undertaker moment? What if Brock has been in the match for 30 plus minutes? He's, like you said earlier, just blood red all over the face, like just sweating profusely. And all of a sudden, Ricochet eliminates Brock. Maybe they do the same dropkick version that Maven did or something like that. But I could see something like that happening, That could be a huge moment. And, of course, I don't see Ricochet then going on to face Lesnar at Mania, but that could just be a moment to help establish someone like a Ricochet, just so they have that under their belt going forward, that they eliminated Brock Lesnar from the Rumble match, because that's going to be a huge talking point for whoever does it. Yeah,
it's going to be. And they could use that as a launching point for their careers of, just constantly bragging about that. And boy, this match is so damn fascinating. I mean, I have this sinking feeling that ultimately, if it comes down to it and WWE just goes with the standard, Roman wins, stands in the second row, points to WrestleMania, and we get Fiend versus Roman, and we have to build that for the next few months. Is it the end of the world? No, but I would like them to take a different path other than the obvious here, because you can still get Roman where you want him to go. We've already discussed how. And you would mitigate the boos, and you would give the fans somebody that you want them to boo in Seth Rollins or Drew McIntyre. He's kind of a tweener right now. Drew is just kind of out there. I don't know. He's not really defined very well right now. He's kind of back and forth, teasing one or the other. He doesn't have a clear path right now. He's kind of in both lanes. And having him win the Rumble would be very interesting to see how the crowd reacts to that. I guess it would depend on who he comes down to the Final Four with, ultimately, to see if the crowd supports him or ends up turning on him. But I think having again, Seth Rollins to me makes the most sense, having the crowd boo. I know WWE loves to have it usually be a babyface, at least in their eyes, so that the crowd can cheer and have a feel-good feeling and bring smiles to faces at the end of the show. I don't need it in this case. I don't need to smile. I want to be pissed off at Seth Rollins for Brock Lesnar and be excited to tune into Monday Night Raw to see what the hell Brock Lesnar is going to do and to see the destruction that he is in the warpath he's going to want to be on. So, damn, you certainly are a salesman tonight. You sold me.
Well, thank you. I think I'm questioning myself. I'm like, damn, should I sell myself? Go back and then rethink about what I actually just said. Yeah, I don't. It's so hard, dude, because I think they really set themselves up well going into this year's Royal Rumble, and I'm really looking forward to tomorrow night's show. I think it's going to be a solid show the entire night. I don't think there's going to be really any dull points. I think even the Bayley and Lacey Evans match, I think that could be a sleeper. I think that could surprise us. I just think the whole night's going to be fun. And then we're right around the corner from WrestleMania already. It's so crazy if you think about it.
It really is. Tomorrow night is a night, and I always say I'm looking forward to the Rumble, but this year it just feels different. This year, It's got a lot of layers, a lot of potential returns, and just answer people's questions quickly. Do I think Edge is going to return? I'd give it a 50-50 shot. Punk, no. Nia Jax, yes. And I think you'll see a lot of NXT influence into the Rumble as well. So just kind of a quick side note. I guess I'll ask you the same thing, kind of in a quick format. Any big returns on your end, or anything like that? Any surprise comebacks?
I think maybe, if anything, maybe an Undertaker, I think would make the most sense for me. Or maybe a John Cena. I think top two for me, Undertaker or John Cena. Maybe 51-49 for Cena. Now thinking about it, I don't see Edge returning. And at least not at the Rumble. I don't see CM Punk returning right now. Some people had mentioned Goldberg. I just don't see what he would do. Yeah, it would be cool, but again, what would he do after that? I don't see him winning to go on to face Brock Lesnar. They could just set that match up without needing to involve Rumble at all. But yeah, maybe if anything, top two for me would be Cena and Taker.
Well, maybe they could just set up for Goldberg Undertaker too. I mean, that's all. They're coming up with another Saudi event, right? So,
yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, true.
Please.
They are. Yeah.
They are.
Yeah.
They are.
I think sometime in February.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So, wow. Well, I'm certainly hyped. In about 24 hours. No, the men's Royal Rumble match will be just about to start. That probably will close the show around from 10 to 11 is typically the time frame that the men's Royal Rumble match takes place. This is a fascinating, and again, not just the Rumble matches, which are, there are so many, my God, so many paths that you could take and so many ways that you could make it happen. It hurts my head to think about a possible flow chart for this. Of all possibilities, it's just insanity. And ultimately, it's probably just a straight line. Roman Reigns wins, goes to WrestleMania, faces The Fiend. And if it's a straight line, it's a straight line. But there's a lot of other things that are more attractive than just that option. So
I'd be curious to see that reaction, though. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh God, I don't. What do you think would happen in Houston?
And that's exactly what I was gonna say. They're in Houston, and I don't know how those fans there, and the size of the stadium that they're gonna be in. It's not gonna be enclosed, so even if the whole place were, or not the whole place, but even if the majority of the people were to boo, I don't think it would be as dominant as it would be inside of an arena. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think they should risk it. A few weeks ago, I was pretty much set on Roman winning, but now the more I think about it, I think WWE learned to protect Roman. Even if they end up doing, like we said, Roman and Fiend, I think they need to protect him just to be safe, because they could very easily turn on Roman tomorrow night. And I don't want that. They've, for Roman's sake, he's done a lot of good this past year, or however long it's been, year plus. I don't want to see that for him because of something like that.
Right, and it doesn't make sense for them to put him at risk really for no reason, just to put another line on his resume of he's a 2-time Rumble winner. We got to get him near Stone Cold. He's the only 3-time, right?
Right. And he doesn't have to win this one. Just if he doesn't win tomorrow night doesn't mean he never wins a Rumble again. Like just not this year.
Right. Right. It just makes no sense to put him at risk. And you could say, oh, well, if they position him right throughout the match and, they put all heels against him, it's like a 4-on-1 situation and have him overcome. No, they tried that formula in 2015 with Big Show and Kane and Rusev being the final few, and they were chanting for anyone but Roman Reigns. So good luck with that if they think that they're going to put all these really, really, intriguing heels in there and have him try to climb the mountain to win. It's good luck. So just keep him the hell out of the final few, or if he's in the final few, fine. Just ultimately don't have him win. You're really going to undo all of the goodwill that you've built over the last year. It's just stupid to put him in that position if you're trying to keep him as a babyface, which I believe for life they are. Wow. I think we have certainly covered most of the possibilities here, although there really are endless, and this could be a 5-hour show. But
easily.
Wow. Yeah, now I'm definitely hyped, and you, for the first time, have sold me on a storyline in your brain that is now on paper. And really, I wrote all of our predictions down. So where we disagree is Lacey Evans, I have winning, you have Bayley winning. And our Rumble winner for the men's Royal Rumble, I have Seth and you have Drew. So outside of that, we have in lockstep for the rest of them. So, man.
Interesting.
Yeah. And this is going to be a really noteworthy show. And was there anything else that you wanted to talk about on the Royal Rumble end before we wrap things up?
I'm sure there's something that I wanted to touch on, but I can't think of it right now. And if I did, we would continue on, like you said, for another 5 hours. So
I'm serious,
no.
Yeah. This could go for a very long time.
Yeah.
So awesome. Well, again, before you go though, let everyone know you do have another podcast that you do. Video podcast, so let everyone know about that, how they can find it, where they can find you on social media, anything else.
So my friends do a show called Wrestle Rewind. Feel free to check them out on Apple, Spotify, pretty much anywhere. You can check out the live video feed on Facebook. Every Tuesday at 8:30, they are live. And I was also recently on another podcast, the Just Josh podcast, which is a pretty fun time with a friend of mine. We talked wrestling, music, and a few other things. But yeah, it's fun to just talk wrestling with people. And he actually, really quick, was one of those fans who had stopped watching for years since like the Attitude Era and just recently got back into it. So it's just cool to talk to someone who missed like an entire almost decade of wrestling and to see how they react to it now. Yeah. So it was just fascinating to hear. We're going to have to do a follow-up show more focusing on that aspect. But yeah, that was just fun. And it kind of gave me a new perspective on wrestling as well. So, but yeah, and I'm on Twitter, at ASHMANNS. Feel free to follow me there.
That's got to be really cool to talk to somebody with a fresh set of eyes that has not seen the product since the Attitude Era to just jump into this product and be like, is this the same thing? It's got to be a shock to the system from the beer swilling, stone cold, flip you off, rock, if you smell to, this PG era. Wow. That's awesome.
I think I could be off on the year that he stopped, but I think it was around the 2002, 2003 time frame. And the thing that got him back into it, or ironically enough, was the Becky Lynch Rise of the Man when she got her face broken and that bloody image, that iconic night on Raw. That was like one of the first shows that he had watched and that got him back into it. So he's been watching since then. But yeah, so just think of the time frame and the chunk that he missed out on. So it's just cool to hear from fans from different perspectives, I guess you could say.
Boy, that's awesome. I mean, so an accident really got him back into wrestling.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, yeah, guys, check that out. That certainly is. I'll be checking that out. It's fascinating.
But I can't wait to talk to you on the review show to see how we end up.
Exactly. And it'll be after Monday Night Raw. So the fallout from the Rumble, on top of the Rumble. Whew, this is going to be an explosive show.
Yes.
And I'm really looking forward to it. So, guys, check the show out. It'll be dropping Tuesday night, late Tuesday night, as I expect our show to probably exceed an hour and a half, 2 hours is what I'm aiming for, because I don't want to get to bed at 5 in the morning, and I know everyone's got to work and stuff like that. So the show will probably be around 2 hours with four people on the show, 3 co-hosts and myself. So we're looking forward to that, Ashley, and we will be in touch in just a few days. And enjoy the Royal Rumble.
Yes, sir. You too. Take care.
All right, you too. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.
Hey guys, so retirement may or may not be something that you're really thinking about, but even if you are years and years away, I mean, I'm 20 years away from retirement, but it's something that we should all be thinking about. There's a company that has retirement plans that you can invest in precious metals like gold, silver, and cryptocurrency. There's also a big opportunity to grow retirement and grow income for either your personal or a business. And anyone who signs up at this website receives a free investment kit and gift. So what is this website? It's brightmoneyinvestments.com. That's brightmoneyinvestments.com. You can diversify and grow with metals and cryptos, and you can even talk to someone there to get a better idea of what you should be investing in. So head on over to brightmoneyinvestments.com.